Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Cam Rogers Show on this Friday, August 17th, 2018. I am Cam Rogers. Welcome into the program. Apparently, I am boring AF, so I am going to have a very exciting hour for you guys. A lot more hand motions and emphasis with my words. I'm citing a recent YouTube commenter, by the way, who said I am boring and Harris is very exciting. Shout out to Harris Rubenstein. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. We got a lot to break down across the National Football League, especially with Mr. Dez Bryant. What is the deal? Well, there's no deal yet. He visited with the Cleveland Browns yesterday, and he sounded positive about his experience so far. He was accompanied by his agent in the process, which tells me he's looking to negotiate some sort of contract here, not just merely visiting the Browns and seeing what they're all about. Now, as we know and have learned before, Bryant originally wanted to play for an NFC East team, not named the Dallas Cowboys, so he could play the Dallas Cowboys at least twice a season. That's really not a reality at this point, unless maybe Philadelphia gives Dez Bryant a look if Alshon Jeffrey is going to be put on the PUP list there to start the regular season, in which case he would miss the first 6 games of the year. But Dez also wants to play for a contender. And I just don't think the Cleveland Browns are there just yet. Now, Bryant did pop into the Browns in-house radio studio yesterday and said the following, quote, "I'm happy to be here, just trying to work some things out." All right. The whole Dez Bryant situation is very interesting. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Richer Famous KJ in YouTube comments right now. Big fan of the Cam Rogers Show. We thank you for tuning in right now. Here's a crazy theory in terms of the Dez Bryant motivation. And I want you guys to hear me out here because I think, honestly, it could be true. And I don't think it's that crazy. And I'm usually not a theory guy, trust me. Like the whole conspiracy theory deal, not really my forte. But what if this visit to the Cleveland Browns was solely to make it onto an episode of Hard Knocks, only to then waltz on over to Pennsylvania or Massachusetts and sign with the likes of the Steelers or the New England Patriots? Is that the craziest idea in the world? Where Dez Bryant just, wants to be in front of the cameras, make it on to an episode of Hard Knocks, be like, yeah, I'm not interested in you guys. I'm going to go on over to Pittsburgh or New England. By the way, my top 2 teams for Dez Bryant this summer. By the way, speaking of YouTube commenters, somebody said to me, summer is over. Actually, no, it's not. It's still very much summer as we stand right now. Calendar update. And why do I have Pittsburgh and New England here? Well, number one, Pittsburgh has a lack of depth at the wide receiver position after Juju Smith-Schuster. Yes, James Washington is good, but he's a rookie and he is not of the Dez Bryant mold, that type of receiver. And by the way, Antonio Brown took to Twitter to try to recruit Dez Bryant, and Dez Bryant retweeted Mr. Brown. And then for New England, well, New England has this precedent of bringing in veteran players, Albert Haynesworth, Brandon Lloyd, Chad Ochocinco, the list goes on, and signing them for that 1-year period. And that's what Dez wants. He wants that 1-year prove-it type of deal where eventually he can cash out. So here's what I'm thinking. Dez Bryant signs with the New England Patriots on a 1-year deal. The Patriots win the Super Bowl, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but this is the dream scenario for Dez Bryant. And then Dez leaves New England after that 1-year contract and signs with the likes of maybe Indianapolis, maybe Cleveland, because those teams have the cap space to do it. And then Dez Bryant could sign that long-term deal and, waltz into the sunset, retiring on that team. I think that's his plan. I mean, maybe he's just doing his homework with Cleveland to perhaps sign with them down the line. Not necessarily this summer, not necessarily today. So Bryant and the Browns are continuing to talk today, so maybe there could be some sort of contract, and everything that I just said is totally poop because it doesn't matter, because Dez is now a member of the Cleveland Browns. So we shall see, but honestly, I just think he wants to be on Hard Knocks. And don't be surprised if GM Kevin Colbert of the Pittsburgh Steelers or Nick Caserio of the New England Patriots give old Dez a call, maybe they already have, and Dez goes on over to Pittsburgh or New England and signs with one of those teams. So as we stand, the Browns are very much interested in signing Dez Bryant. We shall see if indeed they do get a contract deal done. Stay tuned for that. All right, let's continue along here and talk about Mr. Khalil Mack. Jon Gruden recently spoke upon Mack holding out from Raiders camp in the preseason, and Chucky doesn't seem too worried about the state of affairs as we stand. Gruden said he doesn't think it's been a distraction for the team so far, but he did say he's disappointed in the fact that Mack isn't present for the Raiders. Now, Mack is due $13.85 million this season on the 5th and final year of his rookie contract. And here's what's amazing to me. The two sides are reportedly not even close to a long-term deal. There hasn't been any sort of dialogue between these two sides since February. Gruden Mayfield Mack isn't a distraction now, folks, but he will certainly change his mindset if Mack's holdout goes into the regular season and the Raiders' defense gets exposed because there's literally no pass rush. You know what I mean? Like, the Raiders got to figure this out. GM Reggie McKenzie needs to sit down with the Mack camp and get a contract deal done. I've said this many times on my show. Mack is a cornerstone player. He is a premier pass rusher. In the modern-day NFL, you need pass rushers to take down the likes of Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck, Drew Brees, whatever the case may be. And so for the Raiders here to totally botch this situation, and I'm not saying it's all on Oakland because I think Khalil Mack could probably work the phone lines a little better. Phones work two ways, of course. So there has to be some sort of progress within the next couple of weeks, or else the Raiders are very much in trouble. And you guys know that I'm a big fan of the Raiders, not in the sense of purely being a fan, but a sense of, well, I think the Raiders are going to break out this year, and I think they could make the Super Bowl if the chips fall in the right direction and Derek Carr gets back to 2016 Derek Carr and Marshawn Lynch continues his good form from the end of 2017, and that defense gets a little better in the back end. But if you don't have Khalil Mack, I'm sorry, no Super Bowl, no AFC West either. So I may have to change my AFC West prediction if Khalil Mack gets traded, for example. Should the Raiders pay Khalil Mack? Type away, 1 for yes, 2 for no. I want to hear what you guys have to say, and I'm seeing the comments flowing in here on YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live. I'll give you guys some shout-outs as you comment away here on the program. Seeing some twos flow in right now, so people are saying don't pay Mack. All right, I don't know, guys. I'm not with you on that. I think the Oakland Raiders need to pay him now. All right, so type away, and here come the comments. Keep them coming, folks. All right, let's talk about Baker Mayfield perhaps being the quarterback number 3 on the Cleveland Browns. So after a great preseason debut for Baker, everybody was thinking, oh my God, is he going to start week 1? Now all of a sudden, Hugh Jackson is putting a halt to all of that, said he's considering putting Drew Stanton at number 2 behind Tyrod Taylor, obviously pushing Baker Mayfield down to number 3 on the quarterback depth chart, only ahead of Brogan Roback. And I'll be honest, I have no idea who that is. So Stanton clearly has the experience. Here's the rundown of his 38 NFL games. 20 touchdowns, 24 picks, 66.3 quarterback rating. He's got the wins, though, 11-6 in 17 career starts as a quarterback, but, you know, he's gotten the help of good defenses before. Look, I understand what Hugh Jackson is trying to do here. If Tyrod Taylor goes down, you don't want to rush Baker Mayfield into the fray, throw him to the Wolves, and be a starting quarterback in the NFL, especially if Tyrod, for example, goes down week 2, week 3, sometime early in the regular season. But there's also a reason Hugh Jackson has one win the last 2 seasons with the Cleveland Browns. And it's these silly decisions like this one. Why would you put Drew Stanton in at number 2 in terms of the quarterback depth chart? Again, I understand the experience, and I understand the reality that, yeah, maybe Tyrod Taylor goes down early on. I just don't think that's going to happen. Tyrod has proven to be pretty durable in the NFL. He has that agility to avoid big hits and all of that, kind of like a Russell Wilson type situation. So I just don't understand this. And we'll see how Baker Mayfield performs throughout the preseason here, and if he can make his draft stock, or I guess you could say player stock, rise up with the Cleveland Browns and eventually be that number 2 quarterback, maybe even number 1. But as we stand right now, Hugh Jackson considering putting Baker at number 3, which I think is pretty insane. But be sure to let me know. Joshua Rodriguez is saying Hugh Jackson is an idiot. His record says it all. I'm not going to go that far, but yeah, he has made some pretty bad decisions. Appreciate the comment there. All right, you guys are watching the Cam Rogers Show presented by AutoList. Are you looking for a new or used car out there and you're tired of browsing a million sites? Go to Autolist.com to browse the largest source of inventory on the web, or download their top-rated mobile app for iPhone or Android today. All right, so you guys know I'm a Ravens fan. Big Joe Flacco truther out there. And Jalen Ramsey recently went off on many quarterbacks in the NFL in this recent GQ interview. First off, let me say a couple things. Jalen Ramsey is a top 3 cornerback in the NFL. So if there's anyone who can speak on a quarterback, I think it's him. Next thing, it is refreshing to hear honesty from an NFL player. No canned answers, no politician type of speak out there. Jalen Ramsey was honest and unfiltered in a sense. Now, with that said, Ramsey was a little off on some of his comments. Let's take a look at what he said about some of the quarterbacks out there. Josh Allen, he's trash. Joe Flacco sucks. Jimmy Garoppolo, guess he's good. Carson Wentz says he'll be an MVP. I agree with that. For some reason, he doesn't think Andrew Luck is good. I think that's incorrect. And you'll see where I put Andrew Luck when I get to my top 10 quarterbacks entering the 2018 season. Matt Ryan, overrated, perhaps in light of that mega contract that he recently got. Eli Manning, Odell makes him. That was kind of funny. Big Ben, decent at best. Called Kirk Cousins a winner. And then Tyrod Taylor, underrated. Jalen Ramsey played Tyrod Taylor last year during the NFL playoffs. Okay, so Jalen, sure, you're entitled to your opinion, and so am I. And here's what I'll say about Joe Flacco. You are wrong. He does not suck. Excuse me, Jalen, how many Lombardi trophies do you have in your living room? How many Super Bowl MVPs do you have? Oh, that's right. None. You have as many as me. So for you to go out and say Joe Flacco sucks, I think is incorrect. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Joe Flacco is a top 10 quarterback. He is not. He is an average to above average quarterback in the NFL, a good enough quarterback to get hot at the right time and win a Super Bowl throwing 12 touchdowns and no interceptions. Does Joe Flacco suck? I hope you guys side with me and type away with 4 for no, not 3 for yes. Please, for the love of God. Justin, my guy, going with 4. The man goes with 3. Don't approve of that. Hey, John says Joe Flacco is pretty good. Look, the reality of Joe Flacco is this, and I have been following him since coming out back in 2008 as a Ravens fan. I'm going to be as straightforward with you as I can. Joe Flacco can win a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco can also have these throws that make you say to yourself, huh? And trust me, I have done that many times watching the Baltimore Ravens, where I'm just like, Joe, what are you doing? What was that? Joe Flacco needs a run game. Joe Flacco needs an offensive line with good pass protection. When he has those things, he's a good quarterback. When he doesn't, i.e. 2013, when that offensive line was putrid and the running backs were bad, Ray Rice was out of shape, then Joe Flacco is a bad quarterback or a below-average quarterback. So that's where I stand with Mr. Flacco. He doesn't suck. Josh Allen, whether or not he's trash, I really don't know. I think the jury is still out on that. The kid's a rookie quarterback. We just don't know. Big Ben, decent at best. As a Ravens fan, actually, it was kind of refreshing to see that, but I think Ben is better than decent, to be honest with you. Kirk Cousins, he's a winner. Well, is he? How many playoff wins does Kirk Cousins have? Let's be real about that. Eli Manning, the fact that Eli Manning beat an undefeated New England Patriots team, and calling him, well, only Odell makes him, I think is incorrect. Eli Manning has won 2 Super Bowls against a couple of good New England Patriots squads. So Jalen's a little off on that. But, he's entitled to his opinion. Like I said, he's a top 3 corner in the NFL, so he can say what he wants. All right, so let's talk about this next story. Ramsey probably made the least controversial statement in this entire interview about Colin Kaepernick. So here's what he said. Ramsey said that Kaepernick is, quote, way better than some of these second-string quarterbacks and possibly better than some starters in the NFL. Now, first of all, it is safe to say Kaepernick is out of the NFL for reasons unrelated to his ability on the football field. No matter what happens in this collusion case where Colin Kaepernick is alleging all 32 NFL owners essentially got into a conference room and said, hey, let's keep Kaepernick out of the league, I don't think Kaepernick will see a football field ever again in the NFL. And in a watered-down league where we're seeing guys like Tom Savage and Scott Tolzien and bad quarterbacks get starts in the NFL, the league could use somebody like Colin Kaepernick to play on the football field, show some excitement, and score some touchdowns and be on your merry way. And at least be better than the couple of quarterbacks that I just rattled off there. Now, would you sign Colin Kaepernick? Let me know in comments. Pretend you're an NFL GM, all right? And Kaepernick shows interest in your team. Are you signing him? Are you bringing him in for a workout? Are you hanging up the phone? Let me know. Type away in the comments. Want to hear what you guys have to say. Now, somebody commenting, who wants Kaepernick as the face of their franchise? I'm not necessarily arguing that Kaepernick should be a starter in the NFL and the franchise of an NFL team. He should be a backup somewhere. And should a starter get hurt and Kaepernick goes in and plays, he's going to be more exciting than watching other backup quarterbacks out there, i.e. Matt Castle. Is Matt Castle exciting to watch? No. Is Chad Henne exciting to watch? No. So that is my argument, just from a pure entertainment standpoint. Watching good quarterback play on the football field, Kaepernick helps in that regard. Now, apparently, the Denver Broncos offered Colin Kaepernick a deal recently as well. Now, this is interesting. So John Elway said just yesterday that Kaepernick had an opportunity to sign with the team. He said, quote, Colin had his chance to be here. We offered him a contract. So Elway told reporters that the Broncos made him a 2-year offer worth $7 million per season. Now, this was before the kneeling. This was before the grievance case against the NFL. So the fact that John Elway is saying, well, yeah, we offered him a deal and he didn't want it is a little misleading because it was before all of the protests during the national anthem and the kneeling during the national anthem and this creation of dialogue that Colin Kaepernick is trying to usher out there. So, in a way, Elway is trying to sound like a hero, like, yeah, we gave him a chance. Well, John, that seems eons ago when you actually offered that deal. Way before the dealing and before the national anthem debate. Now, Kaepernick has been unemployed since 2016. So, I mean, instead of the Broncos going with Kaepernick and signing him, and apparently Kaepernick didn't want to, the Broncos went in the direction of Trevor Siemian, and we all know how that worked out. So, of course, the grievance case is a bit of a roadblock here for Colin Kaepernick. We'll see if he actually gets signed by a team out there. I'm just not really optimistic as we stand right now. So, we'll see what happens. Let's talk about Dion Lewis, who took a little jab at the New England Patriots recently. So, he's now a member of the Tennessee Titans. Lewis said that he's happy with his decision to join the Titans, but noted the Patriots didn't think he was good enough to be there. Now, Lewis, by the way, had just a fantastic end of the 2017 season, so you would have thought that, yeah, New England would re-sign Dion Lewis, but that's not what New England does. Just ask Chandler Jones. You know what I mean? You got the running back depth chart of Mike Gillislee and James White and Rex Burkhead, and you draft Sony Michel as well. You got Jeremy Hill there too. There is zero reason for the Patriots to sign Dion Lewis to a long-term deal. So Dion, don't take it personally, my man. You're still a good running back. Now, I think it's going to be really good for Tennessee this year, paired up with Derrick Henry, along with new offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur, who comes on over from the LA Rams, an offense last year that was #1 in scoring. Plus, he got a developing Marcus Mariota, who should be healthy. That's a compelling Tennessee Titans team. So for Dion Lewis, he should be happy with where he is. Mike Vrabel as the new head coach there as well. And GM John Robinson has some New England Patriot ties, so it's basically like playing for the Patriots 2.0. All right, so there you go. Dion Lewis, a little bit of a jab there with his old team, the New England Patriots. All right, you guys are watching the Cam Rogers Show, and you may be wondering to yourselves why I look so fantastic right now. It's because I am sporting the Mizzen and Main shirts out there. I've been wearing them all week long, and you too can purchase one of these great shirts. Comfortable.af is the website. Sweat wicking technology, no ironing needed, no dry cleaning needed. It's a beautiful thing, guys. I hate dry cleaning, and I tend to be a sweaty guy. Just ask my roommate, Mitchell Renz. Visit in Maine, the way to go. Cam Rogers with you for the Cam Rogers Show. We are live here on this Friday morning. 10:22 on the East Coast. Let's talk about some more NFL rumors here. Frederick, health update. What's the deal with the Dallas Cowboys center? Seems to be positive as we stand with his neck issue. So, recently sought out a neck and spine specialist in Los Angeles to make sure he was not dealing with a more severe injury. It sounds like Frederick is just going to take this day by day and essentially let rest take care of things. He said he's not sure when he will practice again, but obviously Travis Frederick is a crucial part to that Dallas Cowboys offensive line, perhaps the best center in the NFL outside of maybe an Alex Mack. The Cowboys need him. As we stand, Joe Looney is that replacement, and you remember Martin got hurt. He's done for the year. He was supposed to be kind of that help on the depth chart on the interior for Dallas, so Frederick, positive and optimistic, but going to take his time as he gets back into the NFL fray. All right, let's talk about another injury here. Alex Okafor suffered a bone bruise in his knee and a sprained ankle during Wednesday's practice. But the good news is it's not believed to be serious. Obviously, Okafor is a crucial part of that Saints front line. He does have a bit of an injury history, so this almost isn't all that surprising. Now, he did have 4.5 sacks last year in a limited amount of games, only 10 games last season for Okafor. And 4.5 sacks, not too shabby considering he played alongside All-Pro Cam Jordan. And the Saints now have Marcus Davenport. So you would expect New Orleans to play it very carefully with Okafor here to make sure he is 100%. I think we have a little weigh-in here on the YouTube Live. How many games will the Saints win this year? Type away. I think they're going to be a good team, folks. Perhaps a Super Bowl contending type of team. All right, could this be the last year for Drew Brees? So Brees recently spoke with NFL Network about the rest of his career, and he does anticipate playing in 2019, but he's also treating 2018 as if it could be his last. So we're talking about Drew Brees, who's 39 years old now, and he himself is not taking anything for granted. Now, I would think this fires up the rest of the Saints roster here, because now you have the opportunity to send off Drew Brees with a Super Bowl victory, right? Kind of like Manning or Elway, one of those type of situations where everybody rallies behind Drew Brees. This is it. Let's go win the Super Bowl for Drew. And again, this is not, cemented that Drew Brees is going to retire after 2018. He anticipates playing in 2019 as well. But the Saints can kind of use that as some sort of motivation, right? Kind of a Ray Lewis type of deal. Ray Lewis announcing his retirement during the Ravens Super Bowl push. Lewis waltzes into the sunset with a Super Bowl trophy. Now, how many years does Brees have left? Let me know in comments. Seeing some ones, seeing some twos. Very much up in the air. If I had to guess, I would probably say 3. 4 maximum, if he's really stubborn and he really wants to continue to play in the NFL. Look, if that run game continues to play well for the Saints and that offensive line pass protects, that adds to the longevity of Drew Brees because you don't need him as much, especially with that defense too. You pack that defense, go on the road, win some games in the playoffs, etc. And Brees is not throwing the football 55 times a game. He's not getting worn down as quickly. So maybe 4 years. We shall see. All right, next up here. Demaryius Thomas, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, recently spoke upon the national anthem debate. So where we stand, the NFL and NFLPA are desperately trying to find some sort of solution to all of this. And Demaryius Thomas, in the Week 1 preseason game for the Denver Broncos, actually stayed in the tunnel during the national anthem, which broke from what Von Miller said back in May, where he said the Denver Broncos collectively would stand for the national anthem. This goes back, by the way, to my original point about all of this, that there simply can't be unison in this whole idea, no matter what the solution is, because there are just too many players and too many different opinions. Now, here's what Demaryius Thomas recently said about staying in the tunnel during the national anthem. Quote, "It's just something I've dealt with growing up. Racism as a kid. Kind of still do as a grown-up," goes on to say, "and my family still deals with it today and doesn't get justice. I don't see color. To see people get hurt and not get justice is sad." And that leads me to this. What is the best possible solution to the national anthem debate? Type away. Let me know in comments. The man on YouTube Live saying protest after the game. Perhaps that could be one area of interest for the players. Other players are raising their fists. They're not necessarily kneeling during the national anthem. That could be a possible solution. One of my loyal watchers here on the program, Roland, saying all the world needs is love. Roland, I agree with you. Why can't we all just be nice to each other? It's like life is too short, Roland, to be mad at each other. And so that has been my position for so long on this national anthem debate. It's just not worth the anger. All right, I'll have more on it in the coming episodes of The Cam Show. All right, we are presented by Autolist. If you're looking for a new or used car out there and you're tired of browsing a million sites, go to Autolist.com and browse the largest source of inventory on the web, or download their top-rated mobile app for iPhone or Android today. Autolist.com. All right, how about this? Could Tavon Austin be a complete wide receiver in the NFL? Well, Dak Prescott sounds pretty confident in his receivers as we stand, especially about that new addition there, Mr. Tavon Austin. Now, Austin has a reputation as a gadget type of player, not a true wide receiver. And apparently Dak Prescott disagrees. He said he was surprised at Austin's ability to run routes and catch the ball. But Dak, training camp is one thing. The NFL regular season is another. And the reality is Austin, with all of his speed and vertical ability, has averaged 8.7 yards per catch for his career. That's not going to do it. So what I'm essentially saying is, Mr. Dak Prescott, I will believe it when I see it if Tavon Austin can become a complete wide receiver in the NFL. Don't blame me for being a little skeptical about that one. All right, let's talk about the next headline on the list here. How about Sam Darnold to start week 1 for the New York Jets? The chatter is reportedly increasing that Darnold could start week 1 against the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football. According to the New York Daily News, it would, quote, be an upset if Darnold doesn't start the opener. Now, for what it's worth, he did start last night's preseason game for the Jets. Maybe that's an indicator. I don't know. I still have him number 3 on this quarterback depth chart here for the Jets. McCown at 1, Bridgewater at 2. Now, according to this report here, the Jets' decision to start a quarterback in week 1 of the regular season is slowly trending towards Sam Darnold because they are growing more and more impressed with him during training camp. And let me just say this. I think it would probably be a mistake. I mean, you got 2 bona fide veterans there on that depth chart in Josh McCown and Teddy Bridgewater. Why are you putting this guy, Sam Darnold, an incredibly raw prospect coming out of USC, and starting him in the regular season for week 1? It does not make any sense. You have Josh McCown solely to be the guy to mold Darnold into the quarterback that he can be. And that is not by way of McCown holding a clipboard in week 1 and Darnold starting week 1. And by the way, Teddy Bridgewater looked fantastic last night. So why aren't we talking about Teddy Bridgewater being the freaking starter for the New York Jets? Like, starting Sam Darnold would be such a big, fat mistake that you wonder why the Jets have been searching for an AFC East division title for so long. And you wonder why the Jets have been searching for a playoff berth for so long. It's decisions like these. So if I'm Todd Bowles, and I'm not, but if I am starting Josh McCown in week 1 against the Lions. Because I don't care how impressive Darnold looks in training camp in the preseason. Great. That's awesome. Week 1, regular season, way too early to start this kid. So, at the very least, start Teddy Bridgewater, please. All right, let's talk about a very crucial injury report here about Nick Foles. So, he took a hit from New England's Adrian Claiborne last night. He did say his shoulder feels pretty good. Granted, Darius Geis said he felt good after his first preseason game, and he had a torn ACL. So take that with a grain of salt in terms of what Foles said about his shoulder. Meanwhile, you have Carson Wentz being no sure thing to start week 1 against Atlanta. So, concerns here for the quarterback position in Philadelphia. Further testing is expected today for Nick, and he wouldn't even get into whether he thinks he'd be good to go for week 1 against the Falcons. So, much of Foles' health will be dependent on, really, how he woke up today. If he is feeling it today, probably not a good sign.